This is The Blockchain Show. The Blockchain Show is a podcast that demystifies and promotes widespread adoption of cryptocurrencies and distributed ledger technology. Today's episode of The Blockchain Show is sponsored by Coinigy. Coinigy is an advanced Bitcoin, altcoin, and cryptocurrency day trading platform compatible with every major cryptocurrency exchange. Manage all of your exchange accounts under one simple interface while taking advantage of Coinigy's full-featured analytics and trade execution tools for cryptocurrency trading. Learn more at Coinigy.com. Are you looking for an easy way to buy Bitcoin or Ether on a safe, secure platform? Coinbase is the easiest place to buy and sell digital currencies. Sign up today as a friend of The Blockchain Show, and if you buy or sell $100 of Bitcoin or more, you'll earn $10 of free Bitcoin for yourself and $10 of Bitcoin to support this show. Join now using the link in this episode's show notes at theblockchainshow.com.
Okay, back. Sorry about that.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Welcome.
So we got a lot of people, or we got two people saying that they have found the show recently and started listening.
Yay, two
and
people.
wanted to know if we were dead. Are we dead?
Not yet.
Want to know if we were still doing shit or if it was all over.
We're about to hit the 1 year anniversary next month.
That's crazy.
For real?
Yeah.
May, I think is when it all started, late May.
It was your idea, Steve, right?
Sure. I mean, it was your idea to podcast, then my idea to do a show about Ethereum at the time.
Really?
And
Ethereum?
Yeah. I was kind of a little more excited about Ethereum, but I thought that was a little too narrow. It just happened to be the cryptocurrency that was, gathering my attention at the time.
Good thing it wasn't the Dow. We'd be sunk.
I mean, the Dow was on Ethereum.
I just remember that was like the picture was like the Titanic for that episode.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the Dow related stuff has been sunk, but like the main companies behind it, like Slockit, they raised, millions of dollars recently to continue. They were doing a crowdfund where they raised, $180 million worth of Ether, which is way more than they needed. It was, to fund a bunch of stuff in the Dow, and we all know that it collapsed. Slockit, the company that kind of built the Dow to help them in the ecosystem, they are still working, and apparently, they found private investors to give them, I think it was $4 million or something to go.
That's a lot of cheddar.
It's a lot of cheddar. I don't even know how much it was, but I was shocked. Like, they're still in business.
Because how come I want more Bitcoin in my life? I see there's more like documentaries. I've seen more and more documentaries, some with our guy, Eric Voorhees.
Yeah.
There's 2 more I saw on Amazon. But I'm still not like, man, I really want to use it. Still doesn't seem to have really encroached my world. I need to try harder.
Are you saying you want some more donations?
Yeah, it's really hard. But I also don't want to beg. I just want the system to already be in place where we can have micro payments for things and it works out nicely. But see, I have very few Bitcoin to be tossing around, but I would happily. I don't know. I'm just struggling to get really practically use it every day.
What you're saying is you have an income problem.
Yes, that is a problem too, but I'm specifically wanting Bitcoin. I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking unfortunately all the things that I would be able to do immediately, that just doesn't seem to apply. I can't really figure out how to
I seriously think
do work for Bitcoin.
You should sell album artwork, podcast artwork on the internet for Bitcoin.
All right, I will work for Bitcoin.
Because
totally,
you do pretty good stuff.
Thanks.
They should definitely come up with some way to sell artwork for Bitcoin or something. Do you have any artwork for sale or no?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not at that level of organization. I would like to just have I have no structure. So if there's like any kind of a forum out there that can give structure to an artist like me who would like to use Bitcoin in her life, let me know about it.
I don't know if there's anything tailor made for that.
What happened with the what is that?
The what?
Imogen Heap. How is that going?
Yeah, so that was, what the hell was that called? There was something that she was doing herself, and then there was something that Consensus was doing, and they're kind of like intertwined a little bit. The Consensus one was called, what was that called? Mycelia was the stuff that Imogen Heap was doing, and then Ujo Music was the one with Consensus.
Yeah, Ujo, right. Oh, that was a different thing? Those are two different things?
Well, I mean, it was... Imogen wanted to do her own thing as well, but it was like part of what she did was with Ujo, so it wasn't like it's like they're kind of two sides of the same coin in a way, or two sides of the same six-sided dice. It's like they're separate projects, but Ujo used Imogen Heap's music.
I have another question. Have you heard of any new applications of blockchain technology as far as voting? Has that happened anywhere yet?
Yeah, there was some more new stuff recently regarding being able to cast votes, and I didn't really pay a huge lot of attention to it, but there was it probably isn't as interesting to you because it wasn't about necessarily politics. It was just kind of like voting your shares, proxy voting your shares, and keeping your vote a secret. So I believe it was part of one of the companies doing the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance built a demo or built a proof of concept where people could vote their shares in a stock, or proxy their vote to somebody else. And, the votes were kept secret. So you could prove that your vote was counted to yourself. And you could prove that nobody was cheating, but you couldn't tell what anybody else voted as. And so that's kind of, the first step. At least, maybe we don't necessarily need to care about, tell people knowing how other people voted. But, as of right now, that's kind of a fundamental part of voting. Is it's something you do in private, because that way you can't prove to somebody, you can't be paid to vote for X person. You're allowed to vote, and in any way you want, you're allowed to keep that a secret.
Yeah,
so that was pretty cool, though.
It is cool because whatever new technology that emerges, obviously there's going to be 1,000 little tests of it in different situations before it goes, full, large scale. And I'm curious I'm just curious to know how those are going. I wonder if there are people out there that are working on those.
As far as voting goes, I think the first aspect is going to hit shares in voting, your interest in how you want to move a company, sort of governance of a company versus governance of a nation. But, once that's settled, you can use blockchain for voting. There's, we need big changes in government. There's so much. It's, government was designed to be slow and inefficient and kind of.
We're going to be laughing at how we do it. So soon. We're just, oh, you had to wait around. You had to get permits if you wanted to do AB. I mean, you could still, obviously. I'm grateful that we, protect oak trees and stuff like that. It's a good thing. So what else is happening in blockchain land in Wisconsin?
There's a bit of a, it's hard to describe exactly, but there is, in Bitcoin, there apparently is a few different tribes, let's say, that are kind of warring in a way, or not really warring, but maybe they're warring. There's the Bitcoin Core tribe, and Bitcoin Core tribe gets their name from the Bitcoin Core software, which is the original Bitcoin client that Satoshi built, and with the help of other people, and just as an open source piece of software that most of the Bitcoin miners and nodes use. So it's a pretty stable or pretty good client right now. But there's a group that has taken the label of Bitcoin Core that's not inclusive of all people that develop the Bitcoin Core client, but specifically those who want to keep the block size parameter at 1 megabyte. 1 megabyte. It was initially implemented years ago when there was a fear from the developers at the time in Satoshi that somebody could create what the termed a poison block or a poisonous block. So they could create like a block that was, 1 gigabyte or this really, really large block, and the entire network would then try to, consume the block, and it would choke on this huge poison block, and that would have killed Bitcoin. So they implemented a 1 megabyte block size cap. So any block that was over 1 megabyte, the network would just reject out of hand. And it was something pretty smart to do. There's a lie or a misunderstanding that this block size limit was put into effect to prevent spam, to prevent people using the blockchain in ways that was not approved of. That's not true. It was implemented specifically for somebody trying to crash the network with a poison block, which is different than many spam transactions.
I was just going to clarify for people who don't know the difference between a megabyte and a gigabyte.
That's me. Thank you.
Think of like million and a billion, right?
Oh.
I think it's like 1,024 megabyte versus gigabyte. It's always weird. You could just say 1,000. 1,000 megabytes is a gigabyte.
What is?
But it's like actually 1,024.
I see what you mean.
I don't know why my brain refuses to learn that.
Metric?
Is it metric? It's like some weird metric.
No, I suppose it's just some languages that my knee-jerk reaction is to just reject. I don't know why I struggle.
Just think, Back to the Future, they used to say gigawatts. Giga is more than mega.
Okay.
It's kind of funny because it was...
Yeah, that helps.
It's bigger, yeah.
It was actually like... he mispronounced it as Giga the first time, and they liked it so much that they kept it as because it's a gigawatt, not a gigawatt. But in the 1980s, there was an alternate pronunciation of it as Giga, so it wasn't like
because it was so rarely ever. You were like saying a Brazilian,
a brown person,
a Googleplex. Nobody ever says that.
And so a mega is 1 million bytes, and a giga is 1 billion bytes. But it's so there's 1,000. Well, it's actually 1,024.
You already lost me.
Megabytes in a gigabyte. It's 10 to the 3.
Yeah. Stick with the funny things, and I'll Giga.
How you know what a kilo is?
Sort of.
Kilo of Coke.
Sort of.
So I haven't ever really.
For some reason, that's metric.
Actually looked at a kilo of Coke myself and thought this is a kilo of Coke. Huh?
I was talking about Coca-Cola, guys.
All right, don't know what that is either.
Actually, I guess that'd be a liter.
Oh, you don't touch that either.
2 liter.
All right. Is that what it is? See, it's like a weird world. Go back to what you were saying, Steve. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so they were trying to prevent, the blockchain from dying, and so they implemented this feature. Yeah, it was. They called it a poison block, and it seems to have been lost from the narrative that the original purpose of this was not to prevent spam, or not that this was a good size of blocks, or this was what the network handle. It was like at this moment in time, we have blocks that are in like the kilobyte size, which is 1/1000th of a megabyte. So it's the blocks are very, very small. You know, kilo is 10 to the 3, mega is 10 to the 6th, and giga is 10 to the 9th, I think. Or it's pretty close to around there. So let's just assume that's it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I mean, it does to me. But
Yeah.
I was going to ask if someone would really have to be trying with a gigabyte block. Like, what would you put in there? Just like random shit?
Yeah, so they would create, a gigabyte block that may or may not contain valid transactions. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, or maybe they would just create a whole bunch of transactions themselves and just kind of like stuff this huge block, and then the entire network would then try to digest this big block, and it'd be so different than what their clients are meant to handle and their software is meant to handle, that the clients would crash and all the clients would crash at the same time because none of them would be prepared for this.
This was all theoretical at the time when they were trying to prepare for this?
Yeah, I mean, it was just like, oh, how would I, so they would think about how somebody would attack the network. And they thought that there was an attack space of creating a block that was too big. It was never, as people say now, that somebody would try to create a bunch of transactions and get the transaction to the block, because that's what the fee was for. If you spend Bitcoin, there's a fee that's calculated based off of the size of the transaction and the last time that you spent a transaction. So if you have Bitcoin and you let it sit for like a month without spending it, you can spend it for free according to the protocol. There was always this intent to have free transactions. But if you have a Bitcoin and you spend it a second later, you have to pay a fee to do that. And so that was the spam preventative measure. There was no reason to create another spam preventing measure.
That they
it
knew
was
of at
always
that time.
the
right.
Was that
that they knew of at that time?
Yeah, I mean there was spam was prevented by paying a fee. If you were willing to pay the fee, I mean, what's spam? It's like, who gets to determine what is a valid transaction or not? Who gets to determine like who has speech? Who can put, their transaction on the blockchain?
Right.
There's no reason to prevent spam.
Right.
Because who can say what is spam and isn't spam?
Right. Right.
On a blockchain, it's just a valid transaction or it isn't.
Right.
You pay the fee that you have to pay or you don't. There's no need to prevent spam because the transaction fee, that's what the transaction fee is for. It was already solved. Spam was solved. But a lot of people don't know that, and they think that the 1 megabyte block size was to prevent spam. It's just not true. It's a misunderstanding or at worst a lie.
This is a little bit off the topic, but it was extremely fascinating to me.
Wild horses.
Both of those, yes. But my new hero, I'm sure you won't be surprised, is George Noory. And I saw an episode, George Noory of Coast to Coast and Beyond Belief. I want to do I'm also just going to state this publicly. I would like to write a book on that guy because I could listen to him all day long. He is so funny. But he had a show someone was on, and in the middle of it, they started talking about Bitcoin, and they had it all wrong. I would like to be the one to help George Noory understand.
They didn't even know.
Because if anybody should be spreading the good word, it's him. He would not. He's got it wrong. He needs demystified so bad.
He's too busy listening to ghosts and
My
recordings.
kind of guy.
No, he's cool. We didn't really know about him until Heather said something. Like, I'd heard him on the radio.
No, I knew
times.
of him. It was like a deep secret.
I heard him, same here.
Yeah, like once in New Mexico, I was up with a bunch of meth heads, and they were the ones. Yeah.
Well, I've heard him on the radio, like driving around.
David
no,
Seaman?
no, this was in
AM radio.
Exactly, AM radio in the middle of the night.
He's talking about aliens.
No, his guess was it David Seaman?
Oh God, I've seen so many now. I can't remember his name. But the Bitcoin obviously stuck out to me
they
because
weren't talking about
he
Bitcoin, were they? They were.
Yes, and he was saying it in that sense, like, oh, what is that? Bitcoins? They're trying to do that with Bitcoins, where
They were
they're
talking
trying.
about wanting to send money over the internet, right?
Well, no, it was more talking about like the Federal Reserve.
Oh.
And
Oh, that was a good one.
right. You sure it was the same guy?
Jim Mars?
He had a beard, right? He was talking
Yes,
about the Federal
he had
Reserve.
a beard, yes. Well, either way, George Noory needs to be set straight. 'Cause he's my guy.
Yeah.
Love you, George. Pretty much anybody on George Noory's show is going to let their freak flag fly, which is why I love him.
Well, he's very well spoken, both of them, but this guy that was talking about the Federal Reserve.
Yes.
He wrote this book called The Creature from Jekyll Island.
Yes.
Which is from 1914 when they all got together on Jekyll Island and made the Federal Reserve, and just like the creepy origins of it all. But yeah, he's got to. We got to have him on the blockchain show.
That
man.
would be. I might. Oh my god.
Because he did Duncan Trussell's podcast.
He
and
did?
It scared the living shit out of me because I fell asleep listening to it, and I woke up and they were talking about all this, and I must have been dreaming about it when they were talking about it. Aliens and multi-dimensional.
So fun.
Not when you're tired.
J. Edward Griffin, is that his name?
Apparently,
that's the creature from Jekyll Island, and you can buy it on InfoWars store.
Oh, that's a good sign.
Definitely a good sign.
I first heard about that book from a podcast called Stuff They Don't Want You to Know.
Anyway, that's my shout out.
Shout out to George Noory.
Oh, and there's someone out there. Someone out there. Someone cared. Someone wrote in and cared and asked. I guess two people. But there was one person out there in particular. And you know who you are. I don't exactly know who you are. But we both know who you are. And you're out there. And thanks for sparking a flame again.
On ice over here.
Yeah. You thawed.
It's good that we had two fans kind of tell us, hey, what the hell?
See if we're dead or not.
Where's the next show coming? So this is it. This is the next show.
There you go.
The guy was Lucas Kramer. Said, hey, I just started listening to the podcast. I really liked the first episode and just wanted to know if you are still producing new shows or is the project on ice? That was from April 11th.
Well,
it's not a nice. So I guess Ukraine has launched a big blockchain deal with tech firm Bitfury. So they're trying to make the largest government data repository to try to increase efficiencies and improve transparency in Ukraine. So there's a few countries like Sweden, Estonia, Georgia. I think, there's a few counties doing in the United States that are doing it, like Cook County, where they're trying to do land registries and stuff. But this promises to be even bigger than that. United Arab Emirates is doing some amazing stuff too.
Wow.
So countries are really trying to use blockchain for helping government do its thing better.
I saw in my Facebook news feed somewhere along the line 8 predictions for the future. And number 8 was blockchain technology. Or things to look out for, whatever
shit.
it is.
Yeah, I heard Sam Harris talk about the blockchain on a Joe Rogan episode.
Oh, yeah?
They're talking about.
Did he really?
Yeah, he said maybe the blockchain's a solution. And he seemed very hopeful, almost pleading. And that was a total shift from a year ago.
Things are changing, and having a rigidity in your thought processes is going to be pretty darn hard for people. Flexible thinking, man. Because the paradigm shifts are going to start happening way faster than they have in the past. They already are. And I think people are kind of losing their mind a little bit over it. But if you look at it as fun, then it is fun. Instead of you're losing your job. It's just, no, there's a whole new field open. Just don't know exactly.
Oh, is that what it was about? I think that maybe what it was, that if that a lot of people would be out of work maybe, and you could use the blockchain to kind of do maybe that wasn't. I was listening to both the Joe Rogan one, and I kind of made it halfway through, as well as the Lawrence Krauss one on Joe Rogan. And one of them was talking about, how AI is going to kind of make a lot of jobs obsolete.
Right.
Or possibly. And so then what do we do? Is it going to be I think it actually was not Sam Harris, but it was Lawrence Krauss. And it didn't have anything to do with blockchain. But, I think one of the solutions is maybe, you could do like a universal basic income, and you can use, the blockchain to kind of guarantee that, but
I think it'll be amazing what comes out of it, because, there's so many things that we just keep thinking that we need that we don't. It's very funny. But now, unfortunately, our system we sort of like trapped ourselves in a little cage.
I think
locked ourselves in a old, crusty.
Do you mind if I play something?
Please do.
Portions of society already arguing about what constitutes fake news. How will we handle future technology that makes these lines even more murky? For example, voice manipulating software or computer-generated facial expressions. In the near future, we may be confronted with situations where we literally can't believe specific video or audio due to this manipulating software. This would also open the door for anyone accused of wrongdoing to deny just about anything thrown in their direction, more so than they do now. How will civilization handle this? Well, this is a real problem. I don't know if you guys have seen the state of the art now, but there is software now which can manipulate facial expressions so that it looks like someone is delivering words they never actually spoke. This still looks fairly crude, at least the versions I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I forgot about that. He was talking about fake news and fake words and fake...
Who was that?
Sam Harris. That was from his podcast. Someone did Ask
well,
Me
it's
Anything.
true. But I mean, ultimately, we all have a truth detector in us, so it's you gotta. It's just gonna come down to that. I know I get laughed at all the time. People flat out, balls out, laugh at me.
Well, he was saying
but
the blockchain.
It's what it's gonna come down to eventually.
Possibility to make sure that something is from the source. Like, I don't know if we could ever get to that point.
You can't. You just keep doing it, and you keep doing it. It's like a little rabbit hole that you go down, and you just keep. I understand that.
No, you're not hearing me. This is the whole point of what I'm trying to. Why I played this. Say that we put out, a couple hundred episodes of the blockchain show, and then all of a sudden, the technology is so good that they can examine all of that audio and rearrange any words, invent new words, just how our voice, and make a new episode. So episode 201 is not us. It's like an AI-driven thing. But if the people are subscribing through some sort of blockchain, that's not how we do it right now. We do like a RSS feed. But then they would know, okay, this came... How would you explain what I'm trying to say, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, with blockchain, you can kind of do identity management. You kind of only know that you can prove that somebody has the private keys. So you can sign anything, and by signing, it's not like writing your name down in cursive on something, which I think nobody even knows. Nobody even learns cursive anymore. But so instead, it's not like that, but you sign it by running it through a computer program that does some mathematical calculations on it. So you can prove that you have the key. And so if you use like a blockchain technology, you can then, prove it and post that to the blockchain, and it's unalterable. And so anybody can also prove that this, came from the identity. But there's a slight hiccup there where, if somebody hits me over the head with a wrench until I give them, access to my private key,
oh shit. The ATM knockout.
There's always a human element.
I just had an idea. Sorry to interrupt you. You know how we have AD?
I was done.
BC. What if there's like before blockchain and after blockchain? Think about it. From now on, like if all of the historical documents and things we consider to be important has like a blockchain timestamp, what would you call it? Be like, holy shit, this is the real
BBC
deal.
and ABC.
Yeah.
Like before blockchain, after blockchain.
Oh.
Because we're in the new era now. This is a golden age.
I just call it the Age of Aquarius.
Yes, it is. It's also a
But
golden age.
it's a good idea. I mean, why do we count this? I'm not really getting into
Because
it.
Christianity won.
They won. Yeah,
We just saw a thing on that, right? They won.
Is that Louis C.K.? No.
Yeah, was it?
Yeah. That's a good
Was it? Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Let's just face it. I mean, except the Jews, they're quietly keeping track.
What year is it? 4? I'm like 28.
You got to go backwards.
Yeah.
This was fun.
It was. We can end on Jesus humor.
Oh, is that it? Okay. We had to get one in, so thank you to the strangers who...
Oh, big thanks.
You revived us.
You did.
Yeah, we were nice there for
Just
a bit.
like Jesus, it's Easter. Oh, it all comes together.
It's Good Friday. Actually, today's the day we die. Oops.
Today's the day we die?
Do you know that is
I don't know.
how long the sun kind of sits in its lowest orbit?
3 days?
And, yeah, and kind of like hangs there for 3 days before it starts rising again.
Oh,
It like
I
literally
do love
is
the
just like
stars.
a...
Easter, yeah, that was like a pagan celebration of the return of the light, the warm days.
Well, you're kind of
Summer.
confusing too. So the
that's the
mythology
winter.
gets a bit mushed up in
Christmas.
there. Yeah, you're thinking of Christmas, the return of the sun,
You got the
death for
equinoxes,
3 days.
and you got the what?
Yes, Easter is what is meant to be the first Sunday after the
Solstice.
first full moon of spring.
Like how
Yeah,
you
there's a reason why these holidays are always like on the first day of, winter or the first day of summer.
Jesus died for your sins
It's got nothing to do with that.
while looking at the stars.
All right.
It's got to do with there was, pagan holidays.
They're like, hey, come join our cult. Our cult is cooler. We got all the same holidays.